I'm a big Bitcoin enthusiast, and I'm not a huge owner of Bitcoin, unfortunately. But I think the key is that basically rest financial power away from the central banks. That's what has to be done. The central banks are destroying society, as you put it. Imagine all the technology we'd have if it weren't for them. Imagine the civilizational differences. We have all this high time preference behavior thanks to the Federal Reserve. We would have low time preferences, much more solid and extensive, and we would have people looking at the future instead of the instant gratification. All kinds of things. It debases the whole culture. I thought about writing about that aspect because I'm not brilliant with math and and with I'm not great with even understanding financial mechanisms stuff. I don't understand finance as well as I'd like to, but I do understand that the Federal Reserve, correct me if I'm wrong, it began with all central banks with fractional lending, which of course means that they're totally making money out of nothing.
Exactly.
Ex nihilo, and then charging interest to loan it. I mean, this is insane. How do you do that? You make up something, then charge interest on it. This is crazy. It's complete fabrication.
This is the biggest
scam
of humanity.
It's the biggest scam ever, and it's wide open.
Dr. Michael Rectenwald, how are you doing? Welcome to the show.
I'm doing great. Thanks. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for your time and sharing your wisdom and knowledge. I read your book. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't know why I didn't find you earlier. Maybe the timing was just, maybe maturity was not there, the curiosity, but there are some things, especially when it comes to, what do you call it, like taboo questions or sacrosanct taboo questions. It really triggers me. And if there's one, now the thing is, even while I'm speaking, it's like, can I say it now? Can I articulate the question? You've written a book. It's a beautiful, psychological, can I call it psychological suspense thriller? Michael, why don't you just please introduce yourself, maybe a brief background of, about yourself, because you've written a bunch of books and you're a former professor of, a lot of colleges, universities, and thank you.
Sure. So, I was a professor at NYU for 11 years, and before that at Duke and Duke University, North Carolina Central, Carnegie Mellon, and so forth. I've written 13 books now, and the latest is the Cabal Question, and it is the most probably provocative one I've ever written. And I decided to create a scenario in which basically this character is confronted with the so-called Jewish question, and what would happen to somebody when and if they went down such a rabbit hole, and not only in their personal life, in terms of the novel, the legal repercussions, but also the psychological and spiritual wrestling that would happen as a result. And so that's basically what the novel's about. And so it's as you said, it's a psychological thriller. I heard someone say, I can't imagine a psychological thriller about this, but I think I pulled that off.
Michael, the thing is, I grew up in Austria since 1979. I'm originally from Iran. And, for reasons we probably can think of. So I'm not a fan of any kind of religions or theocracy or dogma. I'm totally I'm a deeply, would say, open-minded spiritual person. And I grew up, with my father here since 79. My father has already deceased, died a few years ago. And I went to, let's say, to pretty private and elite school in a perception of the general public, like even tied to Catholic school. And even though I wasn't baptized or I'm not a Catholic, but I always, took the shortcut to the church, and even did. I mean, I don't know why I did this, but it's just indoctrination. Anyway, and I guess, I always thought for decades, I thought, I enjoyed a really good education, like general education. It was like humanistic education, history, geography, natural sciences, everything. And then like decades later, I wake up, as you said, rabbit hole. It's like a bunch of rabbit holes. It's like, I'm sorry, my language, like, what the fuck have I really learned? I mean, what the fuck have I really understood or comprehended? Not to mention like connecting the dots. So, it starts with history. I mean, who writes these books? Who is behind it? Who finances this? And when you go deeper and deeper, it's like God beyond the matrix,
Yes.
So what is Judaism, to be honest with you? Who are the Jews? Because we got in Iran Orthodox Jews. Who are the Chabad? Who are the? I mean, can we just, openly and neutrally like discuss this? Because I'm not an expert on this.
I mean, I'm not either, and so I never really studied Judaism that much. But I took a lot of cues from what people were saying on the web, and a lot of like the character that I built, Seth, which is kind of like the obsessed monomaniacal character in the novel, is totally lifted from internet sources, and I just embodied it in a particular character. And he was raised Jewish, and so he claims to have this insider view. And the theories out there are like Judaism is not it is not the precursor per se of Christianity as such. Not contemporary Judaism. It's not because of its embrace of the Talmud. And so I spent a good deal of time in the novel, as you probably remember, talking about Talmudic ethics. And the Talmudic ethics, you can find commentary about this all over the place. So I didn't do any deep historical reading or research into the Talmud. I basically relied on what people were saying about it. And it's a very, according to these views, it's a very, shall we say, exclusionary, supremacist view of the self with reference to others. It has a very derogatory view of others, that is, other than Jews, and it contends that they are less than human, and that they are effectively cattle, and that we can do all kinds of things to them that we wouldn't do to each other. And so there's an exclusionary sort of asymmetrical ethics with reference to other people outside of that faith or belief system. I don't know if I'd call it a faith per se. It's more like it's a creed, but it's kind of a creedal commitment, but without shall we say any sense of salvation or anything like that. So I'm not claiming to be an expert on it. I used sort of like, well, I'm not comparing myself, but like Dostoevsky used newspapers to effectively get a sense of the culture in which he was in, and so I used the internet to that effect, and that's where it's all coming from.
Do you think this is, my question always like, is it possible that there was sort of an ancient original Judaism, like, the essence, the root of the, I don't know, the doctrine, what do you want to call it, that's been like, displayed now in the most, horrific way. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it was originally like what do you call it, like an ethical faith-based religion, but then it got somehow hijacked because there's this talk about Khazarian mafia. Again, I'm not an expert, but I'm trying to figure this out, like connect the dots and say, okay, maybe there was something, and then it got hijacked,
Yeah.
it got satanic.
Yeah, that's the sense that I get too. That Judaism, Torah Judaism, is different than Talmudic Judaism, and Torah Judaism is Mosaic, derived from the Ten Commandments, and then there's a lot of other laws, of course, that were on the books in the Torah. A lot of laws, and then the commentary began, the rabbinical commentary. And the idea is there was basically two Talmuds. One was uh, the Talmud that came out of the Levant area, and the other was the Babylonian Talmud. And it's some of the research. It's not like I haven't done any reading in this area. I did do some reading in this area.
Right.
The Babylonian Talmud is perhaps the more corrupt one, because they absorbed apparently Babylonian ethics and beliefs. And then there is the Khazarian theory, of course, that the Khazars, a group located around what is now Ukraine and part of Russia, were converts to Judaism in around 1000 AD, and then they had a diaspora as well, and and they are, according to a lot of people, that accounts for a lot of Eastern European Jews who then immigrated to Palestine, and apparently were indoctrinated into Babylonian Talmudic beliefs.
Yeah, because I mean, I can also only rely. I mean, I'm not, and the only book that I've so far read is really sobering and enlightening. But Eustace Mullins, is that how you pronounce it? He's not alive anymore. I mean, he also wrote about the secrets of the Federal Reserve, of course, and that's the first.
Yeah.
And now it's in German. I mean, it's a German translation. This book is like the new history of Jews or Judaism or something like that, and it was really eye-opening for me because, and there are people, I mean, on the internet, it's on an X, like Carl, I guess it's a pseudonym, Carl Radl, who is like, who has read like all kinds of certified translations of all kinds of Torah and Talmud variations and versions.
Yeah.
So I can only, rely on those testimonies and expertise.
Yeah. For me, I was trying to kind of capture what the cultural temperature is around all this, and of course the legal issues are now real. With the United States attempting to pass the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act, and then a recent attempt to make it illegal, punishable up to $1 million and 20 years in prison.
Yeah.
For participating in BDS activities that are promoted by international governance organizations like the UN.
But I mean, it's mind-blowing. It's off the table, right? Which was just a legislative draft or something like that.
It was a legislative draft. They did not bring it up for vote in the House, but it was. I mean, just the fact that they have the temerity to suggest such things shows me that the ruling class. Okay, and this is not a Marxist class analysis. I'm a libertarian. This is libertarian class analysis. That the ruling class is a Jewish mafia. Okay. And I say that's what one of the characters holds in the book. The main character, he writes an essay called "The Jewish Mafia: How to End Its Rule," and so I mean, it looks very similar to that. The idea being that it looks like there's a group that's got inordinate power and influence, and is attempting to make it illegal to criticize them, to boycott Israel, their pet project, and so on and so forth.
Michael, I mean, this is fucking insane. I mean, just in the face, I always say, in the face of objective reality, data analysis, forensic science, you cannot even question things anymore. You cannot even criticize genocide or what? I mean, this is so fucking insane. I mean, it shows me two things. It's like we have reached like a peak of, I don't know, perverted satanic civilization where it's like in your face. And the second one is like act of desperation. Which one is it, or is it both?
Yeah, I think it's both. I think we have reached a peak moral inversion because, I mean, such that if you are accused by the International Court of Justice and the ICC, the International Criminal Court, of genocide, and you can come to the United States and speak before Congress and get 50 plus standing ovations. But but if you are a student, particularly an international student so far, and you criticize these people who have been accused of genocide and crimes against humanity, then you will be arrested. So, I mean, that is just unbelievable that that's the state of America, the United States, at this point. And the United States is the main engine. I look at it, we're the attack dog for Israel. Some people talk about the U.S. empire. I find that to be a ludicrous idea. It's not a U.S. empire. The U.S. is a bulldog that is Israel's bulldog, and not just Israel's, but this Jewish mafia's bulldog. And they have you can't just blame the genocide on the IDF soldiers or even the government of Israel, because you have people like Bill Ackman in the United States funding all this and trying to shut down speech critical of it, getting rid of college presidents who don't adequately toe the line with reference to so-called anti-Semitism. You got 3 Ivy League universities fired or pushed out their presidents for this. I mean, this is unbelievable. So it tells me these people have inordinate power. No ruling class has complete and total power. That's one thing I should say. There's always gaps. Even a totalitarian regime is not perfect. You can't complete the circle, the totalitarian circle. But nevertheless, that's what we have. This is a ruling class that is, and I don't even know what Jewish means. They call themselves that.
Yeah, I mean,
so what else can I say?
Yeah, I mean, wasn't it some suppressed, or I don't know, the former, I don't know, clown president, what's his name, Joe Biden? Didn't he say like Biden. You don't need to be a Jew to be a Zionist or something like that, or something?
Yeah,
sort of.
Yeah, he called himself a Zionist.
Yeah, I mean, a lot
Zionists.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's Zionists running throughout the whole U.S. Political class, and I think the question is, I got chided yesterday for saying Jewish instead of Zionist. But, see, the way I see that is, look, there's people that call themselves Jews that that promote Zionism, and Zionism is related to Israel, of course, but I think it extends beyond that. But I don't know how to talk about this because everything is proscribed. Even in your private circles. This happened in a personal conversation where I said Jewish, and they said, no, Zionist. You can't say Jewish. And I'm like, well, why not? I mean, the leading Zionists are Jews. I mean, what are we supposed to say?
Yeah. And that's exactly, what I think we were trying to articulate in the beginning. It's like, this is the one sacrosanct, taboo question or, topic that you talk about. Isn't there like a quote, like a proverb is like, you want to find out like who controls, who's in control. Like,
and who you can't mention. And I've been getting a lot of flack on X from other libertarians saying that it's collectivist to talk like this. Well, I don't think so. I think that if you, for example, had an Italian mafia running rampant in the United States, killing people all over the streets, you could speak of an Italian mafia. I mean, and you wouldn't be called a collectivist for doing so. Just because you recognize collectivist behavior, that does not make you a collectivist.
Exactly.
That makes you somebody who observes collectives who operate collectively. How is that possibly collectivist? I mean, these are internecine quarrels that you probably maybe not have much interested in. But as a libertarian, it's kind of like it's a mortal sin. Speaking of Catholicism, it's a mortal sin to do this, because collectivism is one of the sins,
And Michael, I mean, since recently I found out, or I don't know, maybe it was old news, but when you talk about like mafia, like Italian mafia or Irish mafia, it's like most of them was like what I found is like they've always been, most of them are like Jewish. I mean, or personalities like John F. Kennedy, Trump. I mean, he was always surrounded by the so-called Jewish. I mean, Joe, whatever, I don't know what do you call it, J mafia.
Yeah. Yeah, even the Italian mafia was run. The overarching bosses were Jews, so that's another thing too to recognize. But you're not allowed to. When it comes to this group, you're not allowed to identify them.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when you're talking about like the real, like I mean, it's like now it's like an open secret, about the assassination of JFK. I mean, right. I've always, had my suspicion, of course, but now it's like, what was the real motive? Of course, it was like a lot of things going simultaneously. Some of them go up, like the Disclosure Project, reverse engineering, all these highly advanced compartmentalized technologies, to the issuance of, what did JFK do? Issuance of silver certificate dollar or something like that.
Okay, yeah.
And then
that would do it.
Yeah, and then the nuclear, of course, thing about Israel.
Dimona, and then FARA, registering what is now APAC. I forget what it was called then, as a foreign agent, things like that he was attempting to do. And, there's all kinds of circumstantial evidence as well, like Jack Ruby, a.k.a. actually Rubenstein, who killed, of course, Lee Harvey Oswald, to get rid of the patsy. I mean, and he even said he did it for the Jewish people. So, I mean, it's pretty wild. Plus the building, that Oswald supposedly shot out of was owned by a Jewish magnate. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I don't go too deep in all those rabbit holes. In the book, I do have a character that does. Mm-hmm. And, have these different characters that present different aspects of this so-called Jewish question. And it was hard not to make it like didactic in those parts because, but I have looked at, I've read thousands of novels and there isn't a single novel that doesn't do something like this. So don't blame me for doing something that right. has been done in almost every novel. Look at Ayn Rand's, well, look at any of her books, but especially, I guess, the main one, what the hell is it?
I keep forgetting. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
It's very didactic. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the novel used as a kind of vehicle for philosophical and historical discussion.
Mm-hmm.
And Atlas Shrugged is the novel I was trying to think of. Yeah,
very thrilling. Your book is very. I mean, the good books I always read 2 or 3 times now. I mean, so far I read it only once, but I got to go deeper a little because every time you read it again and again. But Michael, there's something I want to ask you. I mean, we got to tie this. We got to try to. I mean, as you've probably noticed, I'm a Bitcoiner.
Yes.
Bitcoin podcast, because for me, there's like all kinds of people in Bitcoin, from engineers to economists, historians. I mean, it's beautiful because why? I mean, for me, it's like I don't only see. Not only do I see like the root solution.
Yes.
But I see the beautiful potential and realistic I mean, what has been stolen from us, humanity, from, you know, not only monetary wise, but technologically, spiritually, civilizationally, it's like
Right.
mind-boggling once you understand what could have been possible 100 years ago, beginning whatever before and or after the creation of the Federal Reserve. And I had
Right.
written on too, you know, my show, and now I'm trying to maybe together with you and try to. I mean, I want to know your thoughts and opinions because I read Whitney Webb's books, of course, One Nation on the Blackmail. You know, this whole blackmail. I mean, this is way beyond just, you know, blackmailing. You know, sleeping with some woman. This is about like systemic, satanic torturing and
Yeah.
rape of children. You know, we're talking about
Right.
children. Now, I understand that there might be personalities that, you know, had been groomed or have been groomed and had, you know, already sold out their soul from the beginning. But of course, you know, I'm not sure like people like JFK. Yeah, I'm sorry, not JFK. I'm sorry, Robert
RFK.
RFK. I'm not sure about
Yeah.
this guy. I mean, was he brought in? Is he being blackmailed? I mean, I can't imagine that he's, you know, I don't know, you know, Epstein, this whole thing. I don't even think he committed suicide. I think he's still alive. But that's not a
Yeah.
conspiracy. What is your whole? I mean, can you like, what is your holistic view on this whole thing?
The Epstein files and all that. I think it's the key to uh, effectively finding out who the key players are in this kind of Talmudic ruling class, and who's controlling these politicians. I don't really care about knowing on who's on the list. I want to know who ran the list, who ran Epstein. That's the real problem, and that's the real key. The key is not how many people and which exact people they were able to honey trap, but rather what people were pulling the strings that have them honey trapped in the first place. And that's really the issue, I think. And Whitney Webb goes really deeply into this. I like her work. I don't like the way she writes, but that's another matter. I mean, I taught writing in the university, you know, academic and scholarly writing, and yeah, she does everything wrong. But
Yeah, I had a hard time reading the first volume. The second volume was more thrilling, you know. But yeah, I mean, she's an encyclopedia, sort of. She's
encyclopedia, but it's a lot of data dumping.
Yeah.
Whereas real good writing lays out the case, you know, gives you mapping of what's to come, explains how the pieces fit together, and then does the expository prose. But, you know, I'm a stickler on that kind of thing.
So I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I don't know, all these people in whatever decision-making positions, whether it's politics, media, corporations, military-industrial complex, financial, banking, of course, central banking complex.
Yeah.
You know, this is why, you know, we're Bitcoiners, because, you know,
yes.
Once I think we have, you know, because it's still truly, I mean, after it took me 1 or 2 years until I figured it out. Oh my God, this is, I mean, it takes a lot of people tell me the same thing. You know, it's like once you comprehend the essence and the, you know, the holistic, you know, comprehension of Bitcoin, it's, you know, game over for the whole system. It just makes the old system obsolete, but it takes a critical mass, and which we have not reached yet, you know, as a store of value, medium of exchange, unit account, and of course, you know, the whole mass adoption phase, you know, the truly decentralized, non-confiscatable, absolutely limited, you know, I mean, every property you can think of as money, it's there.
Yeah.
That's why we're so passionate about it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you know, I'm a big Bitcoin enthusiast, and I'm not a huge owner of Bitcoin, unfortunately. But I think the key is that you basically wrest, you know, financial power away from the central banks. That's what has to be done. The central banks are destroying society, as you put it. Imagine all the technology we'd have if it weren't for them. Imagine the civilizational differences. You know, we have all this high time preference behavior thanks to the Federal Reserve. We would have low time preferences, much more solid and extensive, and we would have people looking at the future instead of the instant gratification, all kinds of things. It debases the whole culture. I've thought about writing about that aspect because I'm not brilliant with math and
Yeah,
and
exactly.
with I'm not great with even understanding financial mechanisms stuff. I don't understand finance as well as I'd like to. But I do understand that the Federal Reserve, and correct me if I'm wrong, it began with, all central banks with fractional lending, which of course means that they're totally making money out of nothing,
Exactly.
ex nihilo, and then charging interest to loan it. I mean, this is insane. How do you do that? You make up something, then charge interest on it. This is crazy. It's complete fabrication.
This is the
It's
biggest
the
fraud
biggest scam.
perpetrated on humanity. I'm
It's the
telling
biggest
you.
scam ever, and it's wide open.
Jesus. Yeah. And
Yeah. So my
the
character
effective
just
devaluation and inflation rate of money. I mean, we've been so defrauded and manipulated and distracted and, brainwashed all our life long. I mean, until I really understood like the essence of inflation of fiat money, right?
yeah. Inflation is one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is that the inflation and the debt that's accrued because of this. Incredible. And it's all made up. I mean, the character, my main character, just says this in the book. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
It's the biggest scam ever, and it's wide open.
I would love to see you on. I know Safeda Namus. I'm not sure whether you've heard of him.
Yes, I'm friends with Safedin. Yeah,
that would be great if you. I mean, I would so love to see you on his podcast. Because
I've been on there.
Really?
Oh yeah, I was on Safedin's podcast.
When?
Yeah.
Did I miss that? Oh my God, I can't believe that.
A few months. It's been about 5-6 months now. Yeah.
Oh my God, I gotta go back.
Yeah, I love that guy. I think he's a hero.
Yeah.
He's one of my main heroes out there.
Yeah, and
I told him.
You articulate so well, this aspect that fascinates me, like what could have been, what kind of civilization could have, and he's bringing out this new book, sort of semi-fictional book, like the gold standard. I mean, I'm waiting until it's finished so we can get the first edition of it, or a version of it. And it's like, I guess he didn't want to scare the people off with the Bitcoin standard. So what could have been if we had stayed on a gold standard, what kind of, thriving civilization, technologies, this is the one aspect I just love to talk about. You talk about low time preference, high time preference, and what kind of technologies could have been come out and, to give joy and comfort to humanity and stuff like that.
Right. And people would be, you would easily retire by 40.
Yeah.
The wealth production would have been incredible. The amount of wealth that would have been produced. It's just mind-boggling when you get that key, that master key, and turn that key, and then the other master key. I think, well, it is the same master key. I think is that when you get the idea of the Jewish question master key, and and this is not necessarily Jews as such. We're talking about Judaization of society.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, of course, do I know? I mean, is it 100% if we have if we deroot the system? I mean, what did Buckminster Fuller, did he say something like, we don't need to fight the old system. We just need to create or design.
Replace it,
design new structures. Yeah. And the old one becomes obsolete. I mean, this is my sort of my dream. It's like,
that's the only answer.
Exactly.
Yeah, we don't need to defeat the old system. We just need to replace it. I think it was August
time, right? It's a waste of time and energy, to be honest. I mean, I think it's important, especially when you have children. You probably have children too, probably,
and grandchildren. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we have a 4.5 year daughter. And I'm like, when you have you talk about low time preference. It's like when you have children, your time preference totally, cross-dimensionally changes.
Yeah.
It's like, what kind of world, what kind of civilization, what kind of spirituality is our child or daughter going to be able to question things? Is she going to be learned? I mean,
unbelievable
freedom. This is really mind-boggling once you start thinking about that. But you don't give up. I mean, this is way beyond hope, and yeah.
Yeah. I think it was Auguste Comte who I don't know if he created this phrase, but it said nothing is destroyed until it is replaced. So that's what needs to happen. You're right.
Are you planning to write like more, more? I mean, I'd love to read more. I gotta order your books. I mean, more, but like more nonfiction books or more
Well,
comprehensive.
I've written, let's see, 13 books. 4 or 5 of them are academic, literal academic expository prose. Then there's like 3 nonfiction expository prose kind of polemics: Springtime for Snowflakes, Beyond Woke, and The Great Reset and the Struggle for Liberty.
Oh,
Then I have 2 novels, this one, The Cabal Question, and Thought Criminal. I must admit that fiction is the most fun.
mhm.
Long fiction is the most fun writing. It's also the most difficult, way harder than expository prose.
Mhm.
It's just very difficult to make things work.
Right. But I guess isn't it the advantage of like in sort of semi-fictional fiction book that you can write things, that you wouldn't be probably allowed to?
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
You don't even have to read between the lines, but you can somehow, weave it into the whatever climax plots or whatever you call it, like into the thread.
Yes. Yes. It's you're allowed, you get some license there because you can't, nobody can technically pin it on you as the author what your characters end up saying or doing. Some people try that and it's absurd. I just reread Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment recently,
Wow.
and the main character is a monster. In effect, he murders 2 women with an axe. Okay, but nobody would run around and say, "Well, you're an axe murderer" to Dostoevsky, right? So similarly, you can't call me an anti-Semite for writing a book about this. But they did. The ADL already wrote about it.
Really?
Yeah.
Uh,
And the ADL already condemned the book.
Jesus Christ, they've got. I mean, it's come a lot of things have come to the surface. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's because of the internet or disclosure or whistleblowers, whatever, or secret. I don't know, recordings or the background machinery behind the ADL and IPAC and what have you. All these organizations. Yeah,
they're police officers, and they're part of. They are the PR and I would say the public relations plus thought police or for the regime, for the mafia. Yeah, they're like, look, you can't do this, you can't do that. We'll shut you down. We'll destroy you. And then you say, well, you have inordinate power, and they say, you can't say we have inordinate power, and for saying that, we're going to destroy your life.
It's like anything you say, it's like anti. I mean, not. I mean, we could start discussing like what is Semitic. I mean, who are the Semites? Who are the
what is it anyway? I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, in a sense, the Jewish state is an unbelievable inversion of reality because they claim to be opposed to it. You have to be an anti-Semite, yet the people they're murdering are more Semitic than them. So it makes no sense at all.
Yeah. I mean, it's mind-boggling that I have to say that or emphasize. Like, I don't care, whose children are being genocided. With it, it's in the original Palestine or Israel. I would shed the same tears for the children in Israel. I mean, I just want peace and prosperity and thriving civilization for everybody. I mean, what's wrong with that? I don't care if you're Jew, Muslim, whatever, Buddhist, Hindu, or Muslim or whatever. I don't care. I don't know why we can't talk openly and spiritually and ethically and with unconditional love. I just don't get it. I mean, I don't want to sound esoteric or or like a hippie, but this is what
Yeah.
it's down to.
Yeah, I mean, that's funny because recently, Hans Hermann Hoppe, I don't know if you're familiar with Hoppe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
of course you
democracy,
are.
the God that failed.
Yeah. He recently spoke at at the Mises Institute at an event, and he used the word Jews quite often, and
Interesting.
and he got flack for that by on the comments, a lot of flack,
Wow.
uh, because he was identifying these people and what they've done, and he identified their identity. Uh, that's not apparently that is not permissible. He said he wouldn't be able to say what he said there in Germany. He would have been arrested immediately.
Wow. And
Yeah,
it's actually reality in 19 countries, as far as I know.
yeah, it is a reality. I think 18 or 19 countries. Yeah,
Even in the face of objective reality, science, forensic, whatever data or testimonies, or you cannot question. I mean, you cannot question anything. It's a narrative or whatever, or a lie. It's
yeah.
mind-boggling.
It's unbelievable. So I mean, there are people in prison for this in
Jeez.
Europe. Yeah, there are people in prison. I noticed, I get reports from Amazon that I have some readers in Germany, and I don't know how they're doing that without getting in trouble, because that could get them arrested just having that book.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. So, is it true that Amazon forced you to change the title from J to Cabal?
Yeah, it wouldn't go through. They wouldn't let it go through. It said it was not permissible to be titled that.
Unbelievable.
So
Unbelievable. It's
yeah, so I had to call it the Cabal Question. And actually, it came down to the idea that the Cabal is actually more accurate for what I wanted to say anyway. Because I don't believe it's all Jews that are doing this,
mhm.
but the people that are doing it happen to be Jews. So, I mean, uh, you know, so I think the Cabal is actually more precise. But
Mhm.
it's hard to be precise. I get grief from a particular follower on Twitter who keeps saying you must say Jewish international mafia. You can't say Jewish mafia, and you can't say cabal. It must be Jewish international mafia. Okay, I don't know. Okay, whatever.
Yeah, you can name it whatever. Yeah, yeah. Um, I don't want to take too much time of you, Michael. I mean, do you have 10 more minutes? I want to have
Sure.
your sort of a zoom out, comprehensive, like overview analysis. I don't know, thoughts, opinions, or just reflection on this whole global thing. Like, maybe I don't know, Iran. I mean, there's also, Israel, Palestine, the whole geopolitical, maybe if you want to call it, events unfolding, accelerating. How do you see things like progressing, or what do you see in the next few months or years? Or I don't know.
Well, there. I don't know if you read my. I noticed you subscribed to my Substack. I don't know if you read my most recent piece,
No,
and
I
it's
just
called
up to date. So.
Will Donald Trump's ego save the remaining Palestinians?" And the point there is apparently Trump is having is on, and Netanyahu are having difficulties. There's a breakup that's happened, apparently, we think. And there's been a tremendous amount of reports, like, for example, in this upcoming Middle East trip, Trump will visit the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, but will not go to Israel. Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense, was scheduled to go to Israel. That has been changed. He will now accompany Trump to these other countries in the Middle East. Trump supposedly said something about a ceasefire, and he was trying to push a ceasefire. Then there was claims that Trump saying that, and I think this is true. Trump was saying they must feed the Palestinian people. This cannot go on. They're starving. They're suffering. So if this is true and not a psyop, then Israel's in trouble big time. I think they're in trouble in the long run anyway, because you had, for example, a big Norwegian
Yeah.
stock portfolio.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
They pulled out of all their investments
Wow.
in Israel.
Yeah.
They pulled a BDS on Israel big time, and this is big money now.
This is big money.
We're
Yeah.
not talking about college kids screaming BDS. This is real BDS. And if those trends continue, Israel is going to be beleaguered beyond belief. Of course, this will feed right into their narrative that everybody wants to kill them. So, I think you're going to see a shakeup in the future. How soon? I don't know. In which the major, the United States and major European countries are going to decouple from Israel, and this will isolate them. If they had to deal with their neighbors without all this arming and funding and all that, they have a whole different scenario there. I don't think they can carry out their crimes against humanity without the United States backing and support financially, rhetorically, and on and on and on. So I'm hoping that's what's happening. Not because I don't think the Jewish people have a right to a state. I don't think that Israel is the answer for them, frankly.
Right. Michael, I mean, I told you in the beginning, I'm not a fan of at all of this Ayatollah mullah regime, whatever.
Sure.
I got to leave it to them, the wisdom they've had. I mean, because of this systemic, what do you call it, embargoes, sanctions.
Yes.
You become creative, right? Out of necessity.
Yeah.
And it's unbelievable, to be honest with you. It's really unbelievable. Not only for me, a lot of people. It's like, how has Iran achieved such just on a conventional defense, capabilities and other, of course, fields of sciences, even medicine. How have they achieved such a, advanced, state of the art, science, technology, implementation, and defense technology, even plasma technology, which I don't know how compartmentalized that is. But do you think, I mean, Israel or whoever is behind this whole, this whole agenda, I mean, do they really want to trigger something like with a false flag? I mean, do you really think they're gonna try it? And because they know exactly, maybe that's exactly what they want. The what do you call it? The total destruction of Israel. I mean, Iran has, I don't know, it's just a speculation, over 100,000 missiles, all kinds of types, even hypersonic ones, and defense technologies and radar, their own radar systems. You know what I'm saying? Is like, what are they trying to achieve?
Well, I mean, according to them, Greater Israel, and Greater Israel includes parts of all of those countries. So, includes parts of Lebanon, includes parts of Syria, and includes the totally destroying Iran, because Iran stands as not a nuclear power, but a bulwark against their expansion. So I don't know. I mean, I don't look at international affairs strictly, or geopolitics, in terms of rationality. I don't think it's rational what they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, the reason I'm also, of course, thinking about it is like, I care about my people, and I still have family in Iran from my mother's side, because my parents had, a divorce. So of course I care about, like, are they going to be protected? This is actually what I did a conversation with like 3 anonymous, like, insiders of the military technological analysts, from Iran. And just a conversation. It was really enlightening. Like, what kind of types of weapons, defense, they gave me a pretty, very, what do you call it? Like a very honest assessment. I said, hey, is Iran capable of defending themselves, defending not only the military, the material infrastructure, but also their people? And they said, hey, look, if the allied forces or NATO forces of 30 countries attack simultaneously, then it's not going to look so bright. Probably it's going to be much more difficult, of course. But that was sort of the assessment. But they have, like, really advanced defensive technologies, all kinds of it's
Good.
amazing. It's amazing, you know?
It's good for them. I mean, can you imagine that Israel, who has never officially declared the existence of its nuclear arsenal, um, and the United States, who is in violation of its own laws by funding and arming a state that is nuclear without being part of the nuclear agreements. It's unbelievable that they're saying Iran A cannot have a nuclear weapon and B is on the brink. This brinkmanship, this on the brink thing, has been going on for 30 plus years. This is absurd. So I don't know how they can pretend to get away with this kind of nonsense with reference to Iran. And I've been on Iranian TV a lot.
Really? Press TV?
Oh yeah. Some of these stations. I guess that makes me a criminal. I don't know.
Oh my God.
But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, when it's talking about like nuclear, I mean, Iran, I mean, this is what I really, I truly believe what they say. I mean, they always said they don't, first of all, it's against their religious, teachings or doctrine that, weapons of mass destruction and nuclear weapons, it's just, no go, right? But then, there comes some generals like, if it's really like, if you force us to, if you really, try to threaten us, to destroy, attack us, then we have no other choice, no other option to develop. And they could probably do it within a few days. They have they have the know-how, they have the science, they have the technology. But to be honest with you, I don't even think they need nuclear weapons, to as a deterrence. What I'm saying? Maybe they already have advanced, defensive technology, whatever that is, whether it be, plasma technology or electromagnetic or, gravitational. I don't know, but, like any other country, like Russia, China, USA, they've been developing and building, we talked about like technology, like how compartmentalized and secretive and it's been, so I think Iran has the intelligence, the brains in the last, 30, 40 or whatever, 50 years to implement these technologies.
Yeah, they could, and I don't think they have. That's my personal assessment. I don't think they have. I don't think they have nuclear weapons, but I do think a false flag. But I think the window for a false flag is closing. Really? They don't have much time. Mm-hmm. I think they would have to do it pretty soon because the whole world's turning against Israel. Yeah, and I don't think the United States. I believe there'd be enough resistance here to another engagement in the Middle East at the behest of Israel. I don't think it'll go over.
I see. Yeah. Do you know Simon Dix? I mean, he's got he's a Jew. Actually, himself, he's one of the very few, analysts who I really respect. He's got very open mind, very neutral, very objective. And he says, like, of course, I understand follow the money. And he says, just look at BlackRock. And, so they're trying sort of it's like, okay, it's not profitable. Zionism is not profitable anymore. Let's back out. And we have sort of plausible deniability. It's very interesting analysis, what Simon did.
Yes, I've heard this type of analysis, and I kind of tend to agree with it. I think they could be jettisoning it fairly soon. That even let's posit that hypothetically, that there is a Jewish international mafia that's running this show. They may jettison Zionism as a project. It's possible, yeah. Mm-hmm. It may not work for them. It's possible that it's a lost leader at this point.
Right. This is what I was asking while we were talking about like Trump and this whole thing, and like, to be honest, I don't even know. Is a lot of people I think feel like that's like I don't know what to believe anymore. Is that theater? Is that sort of a distraction?
I know it's very hard to tell. It's hard to tell whether it's theater. Where these comments are coming from. These are all unnamed sources that are saying these things. So some of the things are obviously true. There has been negotiations ongoing with Iran directly with the United States, not involving Israel. There is the fact that this trip is taking place that is not involving Israel. There seems to be something to the fact that Trump and Netanyahu are on the outs. all those are good developments. Let's see if they.
Yeah, like from the outside, it looks at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I see it.
But people are afraid to be positive about it because we know all the psyops that are running, and we know that there's psyops all over the place, and it could be just another. But let's hope.
Yeah.
You know.
When you talk about hope, it's like, I mean, when you talk about like Obama, it's like, remember, I mean, when I talk to my wife, it's like, Jesus, I mean, they've done a really good job. We all got deceived. I mean, 99.9% of all people, I think, I don't know. I mean, myself definitely including, we got all psyoped and deceived by this Obama theater, and he's been groomed, and the same thing with Trump. I don't know. I mean, he's like, oh, he's playing 4D, 5D, 7D chess. It's like, oh, really? I mean, he's been supporting the whole time, and materialistically, like the whole genocide thing, hasn't it been? I mean,
yes. Then another $7-8 billion over, plus 2,000-pound bombs. And then that whole talk of the Riviera on the Mediterranean. I mean, all of that outrageous stuff, and they even put a video out with himself and Netanyahu lounging on the beach. Jeez. And big statues of him in the background, all kind of crazy lunacy. And so who knows what's going on here? It's very difficult to tell.
Yeah. Because let me just to wrap up, it's like, sometimes I'm thinking, okay, I'm saying, like, I'm putting myself into the shoes of Trump, for example. It's like, how would you go about? I mean, would you have to play along without getting assassinated? You know what I'm saying? Like, the pressure and the assassination attempts. I don't even know whether these were authentic. This is so crazy.
It's very hard.
I don't know what to believe anymore, Michael.
Yeah, it's very tough to tell. This is the theater in many respects. But you look at the material aspects and see exactly what people do. That's where the line is. That's where the rubber meets the road. And hopefully we're going to see a decoupling from Israel. That's all I can say, is I surely hope it happens, not because I want the Israelis to be killed. I want them to stop killing other people.
Exactly. Thank you for saying that. Beautifully said. Well, Michael, I don't want to take up too much time. Where can people find you? I hope we can, somehow, maybe, hopefully in the future, sit together.
Yeah, in real life. Yeah, sure.
And have a personal interview, maybe. That would be great. By the way, I had a very interesting conversation with another Bitcoin podcast, Daniel Prince and John Hamer. Have you ever heard of him? And John? Yeah. Would be also a great, convo or whatever combination with you guys.
Yeah.
So I gotta go back on Safedan's podcast and watch and listen to that. I didn't know you were already on his podcast. So where can people find you, Michael? And any other?
Well, I have a main website. It's michaelrectenwald.com. That's Michael Rectenwald, RECTENWALD.com. And there you can buy directly from me copies of the Cabal Question.
Awesome.
You just click on buy signed copies, and I send out signed copies directly. But also the book is available on Amazon, of course. Amazingly so far, not taken down.
Yeah.
And I also have a Substack. It's mrectenwald.substack.com, or rect, REKT. That's my Substack, and I put most of my new work up there.
Yeah. What makes me so happy is that you're sort of, I mean, if I can say that, a Bitcoin advocate or Bitcoin.
Oh, yeah, big time.
That's amazing.
Oh, absolutely.
Really,
absolutely.
Yeah, that's good, because, it's not so self-explanatory, that someone like you, because there's a lot of, people is like, they're maybe too deep in their own rabbit hole. They don't understand, but this is amazing. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for decentralization, and Bitcoin is the currency of decentralization.
Wow, I can't say better. Okay, thank you so much. I really learned a lot.
Sure, thanks for.
I love your books, and hope to see you soon. Hopefully, all right.
Thanks so much for having me. It's great talking to you, man.
Okay, Michael. Bye.
All right, bye.